All right, let's dive into one of the most powerful, most foundational stories ever told. We're talking about divine law, a massive human rebellion, and the absolutely stunning possibility of a second chance.
So picture this. The story starts in silence, but it's not a peaceful silence, it's heavy. The entire nation of Israel is just camped out at the foot of Mount Sinai, and it feels like the air itself is holding its breath. The mountain is just looming over them, its peak wrapped in a storm that doesn't act like a normal storm at all. No, this is a storm that watches, a storm that waits.
So our story really kicks off with one man, Moses, who gets called to walk straight into that storm. This first part is all about his climb, right into the very presence of God.
And we're not just talking about some rain and wind here. The ground itself is shaking. Lightning is flashing sideways inside this swirling crown of black clouds. Smoke is pouring down the mountain like it's alive. I mean, it's a scene of pure cosmic terror, and it's designed to show the people just what kind of awesome, unapproachable power they're dealing with.
But here's the thing. Amidst all that chaos, the shaking earth, the roaring fire, the call that comes to Moses isn't some thunderous shout. It's clear, simple, almost quiet. Just two words that cut through everything else. And that contrast is so powerful, right? The terrifying, impersonal storm on the outside and this direct personal call on the inside.
So Moses goes. He heads up the mountain, leaves the terrified camp behind, and walks right into the fire. And it's here, in the heart of that storm, that the foundation for a whole new way of life is about to be delivered.
You know, once Moses is actually in God's presence, all that noise and terror just kind of fades away. The voice that speaks is intimate, almost like a father talking to his child. These laws that are going to define an entire nation, they're not being shouted from the heavens, they're spoken directly and personally to one man.
And here they are. These are the words, so simple, so direct, and they've become the moral bedrock for literally billions of people. But pay very close attention to that second command, you will not make idols. In the context of our story, that isn't just a rule, oh no, it's basically a prophecy of the disaster that is just about to unfold.
After getting these words, Moses doesn't just turn around and head back down. He stays on that mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, just in the presence of God, getting all the details of the law that will eventually be carved onto 2 stone tablets. Now, 40 days. That's a long, long time to wait, especially when you're camped at the base of a terrifying, fire-breathing mountain.
And this, right here, is the central tension of the entire story. While a nation is being built up in law and covenant on the peak, down in the valley, that very same nation is starting to completely unravel. While Moses is getting this amazing vision for the future, the people are losing their grip on the present. Okay, so now we got to shift our focus. We're moving from this sacred encounter on the mountain down to the chaos that is brewing in the camp below. This is where fear and impatience start to curdle into full-blown rebellion.
You can almost feel their faith just collapsing in real time. What started as awe and fear slowly just devolves. The whispers start, he's not coming back. Fear turns into impatience. Impatience gives way to panic. And then finally to this desperate demand for a God they can actually see and control. A God totally unlike the terrifying, invisible one up on the mountain.
And just look how fast it all happens. Aaron, Moses' own brother who is left in charge, he just caves to the pressure. When he asks for their gold, and get this, it's the very same gold they took from Egypt when they escaped, they don't hesitate for a second. They cheer. They're eagerly stripping off their own wealth to create a new, visible, tangible God.
The second that golden calf is revealed, the whole camp erupts. It is a moment of just profound mass delusion. They're giving credit for their miraculous liberation to this lifeless statue that they literally just made moments before. They dance, they feast, they fall into total chaos, all at the feet of an idol.
And now, this is it. This is the collision point of our story. That sacred, orderly world of the law is about to come crashing down into the chaotic, rebellious world of the camp below.
Up on the mountain, the whole atmosphere changes in an instant. God's voice, it's described not as loud thunder, but as being filled with a disappointment that's heavier than any storm. The betrayal is total. The violation of that second commandment was immediate and just absolute.
So Moses races down the mountain, carrying these stone tablets carved by God himself.
And as he gets closer, he hears it first, the noise, the shouting, the drumming, the chaos of the party. And then he sees it with his own eyes, the golden calf, the people dancing wildly, the complete and utter betrayal of everything he was just given.
In a moment of just pure righteous fury, Moses snaps. He lifts the sacred tablets high above his head and he smashes them on the ground. The explosion of sound silences the entire camp, and his roar just cuts through the madness as he confronts his brother Aaron, whose excuses are, frankly, pathetic and cowardly.
So what happens next is incredibly severe, but it's also deeply symbolic. Moses destroys the idol, grinds it into dust, mixes it with water, and forces the people to drink it. The message is just chillingly clear. The God you so desperately wanted, it will now literally fill you. You will consume your own sin. After the judgment, there's just a broken silence. The covenant is shattered, the people are disgraced. But the story doesn't end here. Now, it turns to the possibility of mercy, of renewal, rising from the ashes of this catastrophic failure. Moses climbs the mountain again, but this time it's not to receive the law, it's to plead for his people. And he makes this incredible, breathtaking statement. He basically offers his own salvation, his own legacy, in exchange for their forgiveness. He stands in the gap, identifying so completely with his flawed people that he's willing to be erased for them. And God relents. He agrees to give them a second chance. And this, right here, really gets to the heart of the story's transformation. The first covenant was given in terrifying power, but the renewed covenant? It's given in compassion and grace. It's born not just from authority, but from forgiveness and divine faithfulness, even when faced with human faithlessness.
So when Moses returns the second time with new tablets, something is different about him. He's been in the presence not just of a powerful God, but of a merciful one. And that encounter has physically changed him. His face is literally radiating with a divine light, a glory so intense that the people are actually afraid to look at him. It's an outward sign of the profound grace he has just witnessed.
And that is the promise that allows the story to move forward. Despite the epic failure, despite the broken tablets and the golden calf, the final word isn't destruction, it's presence. The journey isn't over. God is still with them. Hope is restored.
So we're left with this story that's absolutely foundational for understanding law, failure, and grace. It seems to suggest that the most enduring agreements aren't the ones etched in stone by power, but the ones that are rewritten by mercy after they've been shattered by our own weakness. It leaves us all with a pretty timeless question. What does it really mean to build a community not on some illusion of perfection, but on the tough reality of forgiveness?